$500 million, Liam. That's the number that I personally at least can't stop thinking about this week specifically, because it seems to stop being the ceiling and it's now the floor. The NBA closed bidding on its new European league on June 30th. 12 target cities, every single one of them, every one, drew a bid over $500 million. London and Paris cleared $1 billion. And that number, just an FYI too, it keeps showing up. We're going to talk about it through the podcast, but a professional lacrosse league, yes, lacrosse, raised $100 million at north of a $500 million valuation from Aries. Pau Gasol wrote a $55 million check, not for just one team, but for entire women's soccer league's revenue through the year of 2050. So the prices keep going up, but that's why we have this podcast. I'm your host, Sean and Liam Clifford, and this is Playbooks and Portfolios. Welcome back.
We're back.
We're back. We are back with a lot to talk about.
A lot.
So much going on. But first and foremost, 4th of July festivities, absolute blast. I was down in Sea Isle, kicking it, having a great time, family and friends. It is interesting, though, as I keep getting older. I hate to say that, but I keep getting older, and I just find myself now not going out as much as I used to. I popped in the OD, popped in Dead Dog, but that was it. That was the stint of my going out. Is mostly beach and fun. I think the baby on the way is definitely making me feel like I'm in dad mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great 4th of July weekend with the family. How about you, Liam?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're becoming a dad now, so no more OD for you, big guy.
I got Saturdays before the dad shirt on today, so had to
There you
wrap
go.
it.
There you go. No, mine was good. Mine was a lot of fun. Went down to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach to be exact, with some of the guys from college, some of my buddies from college, and played some golf. That was before 4th of July, and then during 4th of July, was at Aaliyah's house with her family, and same type of deal. Family, friends, some pool, some sun. Was good and much needed R&R, but we're back and we're in full force and we got a lot to talk about. First topic I want to make sure we do, because we specifically recorded this podcast Tuesday morning rather than Monday afternoon because USA was playing. So USA played Belgium last night.
Yeah.
I watched the game up until basically the last 5 to 10 minutes because it got a little tough to watch. I'm not going to lie, but had to support the hometown team. But man, did they struggle. It seemed like a complete domination from Belgium. I will say USA had a lot of heart, but man, it was tough to watch at some points. I'm not going to act like I'm some FIFA soccer analyst, but it just seemed like they couldn't do much, man. It really did. It really did.
I think a lot of people would agree. But also, it is what it is. This is the big leagues. This is the top 16. If we would have won this game, we're playing Spain, who just beat Ronaldo in Portugal. So, like, it is what it is. And I do think that it's a kind of a wake-up call, because I don't know about you, this is the most engaged I've been in FIFA. I also must say, I am going to continuously watch the World Cup from here on out. This has been some of the coolest spectacles and also coolest sporting events I've seen in a while. The games have been so intense, but also just so interesting to watch. Never been a true soccer guy. Went to FC Cincinnati's game, got to pull the sword. I think that we've talked about that on the show before. That was my first MLS game before. This is a whole new ballpark. You watch some of these guys go out there and play. It's funny too, because it's got me really excited. Like I caught myself then. This was 2 nights ago after a game. I was watching some Messi highlights, some Ronaldo highlights. I'm just watching soccer now, which is crazy. Never done that before, but you definitely saw the gap between what European soccer looks like and what the States look like. And I don't think it has anything to do with, other than the fact that that's just not our main sport. It is what it is. Like, we just don't pour as much effort. But I don't know about you. By that, like, 85th minute, I was kind of like fired up. I'm like, we got to figure this out, guys. Like, we gotta start pouring a bunch of effort into American soccer. I want to see them win the World Cup. Like, that would be all time.
It would be. It was really cool. I watched a good amount of the games and during group play, and then once they got into the elimination rounds, I know we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but we mentioned that the numbers were down for the viewership and they were losing money. I would love, it's not in the
I
segment.
don't. I want to take that back personally.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
think so.
say it's not in the segment this week. Maybe we hit it next week when World Cup's kind of coming to a close. But I would love to take a look at the numbers again because I was watching that game last night with the backdrop on the Seahawks stadium. Holy cow, I was fired up. Like I really
Fired
was.
up. Fired up.
And like I said, sure, it wasn't what we all hoped for, but the gap is definitely there. I think we all saw it last night, and I do hope now this kind of invigorates people to pour into soccer and to grow it because man, is it a fun sport to watch? Something that,
Unbelievable.
like you said, I don't watch it. I never have. I've never been to a soccer game. I've never been to an MLS game, but I want to go to a World Cup game now because that was so cool to watch. And man, if they would have won, I can only imagine what the United States would be feeling today.
Yeah, I think we would be on a different high. It was a bummer to watch the loss. I will commend them though. They did. It was really struggle early. Like when that first, it was in the 9th minute, and the goal, like their first goal for Belgium happened, sucked the life out of the whole stadium. But when that free kick went and we hit that, I jumped out of my seat.
I couldn't believe he sent
I
it.
was
I
so
went nuts.
fired up.
I went
I was
nuts.
so fired up.
No, they had a lot of fight. They did, and it was cool. Proud of the USA for making it all the way to the 16th round there, or the team of 16 at the end, and making a good push, the longest push since we've been alive. So can't complain. But dude, I had chills watching that game. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. We could talk about this for a while, though. Getting into the next segment, the $500 million ante that I talked about in the little intro there. The NBA Europe is expanding. They are finalized their bidding. It closed June 30th, 2026. 20 plus ownership groups engaged in the bidding. All 12 target cities drew bids over 500 million. London, Paris, Madrid, Berlin, Munich, Milan, Rome, Istanbul, Barcelona, Manchester, Lyon, and Athens. And London and Paris topped $1 billion of a bid. The launch is October 2027 or 2027. Structure is 16 teams, 12 permanent, and 4 promotion slots. And it's a JV between the NBA and FIBA, FIBA. Initial equity split's going to be 50-50 amongst the NBA owners versus the franchise owners. And it's going to directly challenge the EuroLeague officially. But I have a lot on this. I mean, really interesting to say the least. I will say this. It's a $500 million to get in the room now, which is unbelievable. And I feel like we get kind of caught in this big ticket item, big numbers being thrown around, all these different teams raising so much money, but no one actually goes into the diligence of what's behind the scenes. So I want to break this down real quick for you, Liam, because we've talked about a lot of teams and a lot of leagues raising a lot of money. So let's just, at least we invest in venture companies. So different valuations, a completely different analysis, but just my take. Okay. It's really it's a 3-phased approach on how to value these teams, right? Phase one, you got to quantify the revenue in some way, shape, or form. You got to go through the media rights, the sponsorships, the partnerships, the ticketing, the merchandise, the tax breaks, right? Then you go into the phase two, which is applying the financial models, whether that be revenue multiples, the DCF, comparison to other transactions. And then you got to evaluate the risk, right? The arena's infrastructure, the competition between the EuroLeague and FIBA and the NBA, and then also the currency and the macro economic kind of climate here. So you put all of that into perspective. I actually kind of broke this down, and I wanted to see what is the base case here. Like where, if I'm putting $500 million in, what is the base case? Taking London for example, very clearly. I mean, this is what they're saying could be doing about 45 million a year in revenue, right? You have the seating moving into 15,000 per capacity seats. Let's say you get 90% average on all those seats. It's 13,500 seats being taken every single game, about 1.5 million per game. And on a 41 game league, that gives you 61.5 million for 41 games. So you stretch that out and you kind of start to value and you go through the different opportunities. You got to obviously put in the naming rights, right? About 12 million per year for naming rights on a stadium. And then 8 million is the number that I found for jersey patch naming rights as well. You have the merch, you have the ticketing. So base case, they could be doing right around $150 million per year. Now, the real question though, right? Because you're not betting on just the revenue early. It's not about that as much. It's all about the terminal value, right? At the end of the 10 years, the 10-year cycle, will this asset be irreplaceable? That's the question. I'm going to flip it to now you, Liam. Do you feel like in 10 years' time, so we're talking 2036, 2037 specifically, will this league have made it and will they be irreplaceable? Your thoughts on that question?
That's a great question. And interesting you pull the numbers there. What was the number? 150 million in revenue you said up to right around on average.
Had a base case of about 151.5 million per year if you want the exact stat of what
And that was for London specifically though.
I was going off of London specifically on that one. Yes.
So now take that, and London, out of all of these, London and Paris are probably the biggest cities to.
I mean, they are the $1 billion number.
So
Yeah.
if that's your New York, your LA, then what does Istanbul look like is my question. Does that get cut in half? Do they do 10% of that? I have no idea. I'd have to go there. I'd have to weigh the kind of vibe of, okay, are there going to be fans that are going to be filling these seats every game? And also remind me again, did you say the stadiums in London, they're looking to do right around 15,000 people?
Well, so a lot of the stadium seating in the current moment is much less than that. All the stadiums that they're moving into is they're trying to push for 15,000 in capacity.
So
Yeah.
kind of like USFL type of vibe, similar.
Yeah, I compare this. I mean, that's really when it comes to actually valuing the company or valuing the companies, valuing the asset and valuing the teams. You have to kind of look at comparisons too. You have to look at the Euro League. You have to look at soccer. You have to look at the MLS expansion that's happening right now as they're raising new money. You have to kind of look at all of that. And it was interesting. I was talking to my father-in-law, Greg Alessandroni, before this podcast, asking him for his opinion. He's big, I mean, one of the best high school women's basketball coaches in Philadelphia, maybe in the country. I mean, I've had this for the last 3 years, Chipotle Nationals from Greg Alessandroni. So legit here, a take. But his big thing, past the numbers, past the money, he was more interested because I asked him just point blank period, would you watch these games? And he said, yeah, I'd be really interested, but it wasn't for the reason that you think. He's very interested in the players. Do they start to stay in Europe because of this type of opportunity? And B, the style of play, because the European style of play is much different than American style of play. So it will be interesting to see how that all blends. But back to the original question, Liam, of does this asset hold true here in 10 years?
Yeah. Well, and before I answer that, I do want to ask one more thing because it is important. And when looking at our notes here, it mentions that there's going to be an auction of some sort. Did you research and look into that? And did you have findings on, are they auctioning off the teams down the road? And this is kind of the price they're setting now, but there will be an auction later? Or are they buying these teams at 500, anywhere from $100 million to $500 million value?
I think that from my research, this is just the initial bids. This is what the teams are going up for. It's kind of the benchmark. And I guess you're not going. You don't want to answer this question.
I don't want to answer the question without all the facts, and I hope the viewers can see that because I want to make sure because this is a great conversation. And I think it's important. The thing
let me ask you a point blank period question, Liam.
Sure.
You keep beating around the bush. You don't want to tell me your answer. You don't want to give me your thoughts here. You have a multi-billion-dollar family office, and
okay,
boom, you get a team in Istanbul, and they're saying you got to put in $500 million. Is that team going to be around in 10 years?
Okay.
Yes or no? It's a yes or no answer.
If I am in that situation and I can invest in my Istanbul team and grow them and watch them flourish and make them the best European team there is, 100% I'm going to do that because I can. 100% I'm going to do that. I can. Why not? It would be fun. I think we've talked about it a ton of times on this podcast, bringing it to an actual thing and real world kind of situation. International sports is growing. It is. It's growing in the NFL. It's growing in the NBA. It's growing in soccer. All of these different things that we keep seeing pop up, it's growing. I think who's to say women's basketball is growing. Why not also have the NBA European League also begin to start to see some huge growth, especially in when you talk about the reality, sure, Istanbul we're using as the example, but London, Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, some of the really large and well-known cities in Europe. It would be fun to watch teams play there. The thing that I am also kind of curious on is what is the 4 promotion slots for teams? It says 12 permanent plus 4 promotion. Are they rotating and traveling to different countries and playing, or different cities and playing? That would be also pretty cool, where there's a team that's almost like a nomad and they're traveling around, garnering fans and viewership from all the different cities. That would be interesting. So to answer your question, and then I'll flip it to you. If I could do it and I had the opportunity and I was this multi-family office with all this money, sure, 100%. If you tell me go buy the Istanbul Islanders, no doubt, am I buying 100%? And we're
That's what
gonna
you're naming the team, the Istanbul
probably probably
Islanders?
not. We'll probably create a more creative name, but I would do it. I think sports internationally is growing. We talk about it all the time. So if I had the opportunity to do it, I've seen personally, I mean, we have had the opportunity. I've seen, but not from a personal level, but from a fun level, we get pitched deals all the time. I just got pitched a new rugby league deal that they're doing something similar where they're getting 12 teams and they're kind of running the race of trying to bring it to the States rather than bring it international. So opposite kind of idea, but I think the NBA is huge. I think it's huge internationally, and I think this is a good play for the NBA. What are your thoughts?
It's a no for me. It's a no for me, and it's a no because you just saw Live blow up in its own face. I mean, it that terrifies me in a way because I think when you get these, it's all based off of what you're trying to get out of it. Because back to my original question of the 10 years, do I think that this is going to be an established asset in 10 years that is doing these types of numbers and is honestly a sure thing or a great investment more than anything for $500 million? And now the base case is you have to be doing 151, and also that type of revenue and hopefully profitable in some way, shape, or form. I mean, that's the other thing. Is it even going to touch profitability anytime soon? I can't find a world that happens, especially after watching what happened to Live and just the amount of money that was lost in that transaction is crazy. So I I'd say no. I do think that you got to be a long-term player. If I'm an ownership group that's like, I'm moving my family out there and this is my thing, like this is all I care about now. I'm going to be the owner of the London Lakers. I don't know what we're calling these teams, but if I'm going to be an owner of these teams, I want to ensure that I'm going to be in this for the long, long run, and I'm also going to utilize that asset in the best way, shape, or form in that city and really start to dive in. So I think that, but the problem is you get private equity rolling in here. You get these big groups of minority stakeholders, and people are just looking for returns. I don't think that this can be just a returns type profile. I think that this needs to be something much larger, and it needs to be a longer term play for all these different teams. So if I'm looking for liquidity out of this deal in 10 years, I'm running away. If I'm looking for a 25-year, win a bunch of championships, and over that time, really in it for the long run, let's play ball. I'm all
Sure.
for it. Let's buy the Istanbul Islanders. Let's
Sure.
do it.
And I want to be clear. I personally, Liam Clifford here, I wouldn't go and move myself and go live in Istanbul and be like, this is my calling. I'm
But
going
it
to.
sounds like it though. It sounds like this is your
You
calling.
more so were asking me as some made up guy who's got this multi-family family. Maybe I have relatives in Istanbul. That's a different story. But today I don't. And personally wouldn't do that now. Do I think it's a good idea? I still stand on that. I think sports internationally is growing. I think there's a way to maybe not as long term of a play, but grow the team, grow the league, and then sell. There's also potential there. But you mentioned the long run of wanting to stay in it for 25 years and growing the London Lakers, then maybe that's your gig. But
Well, I think it's a good transition to our next topic. Pau Gasol,
speaking
former
of Lakers,
NBA, comes in and buys a league's revenue all the way to 2050. We're talking about 25 years of revenue
crazy.
here. Closed July 1st, 2026. The vehicle is through Gasol 16 Ventures. Super cool. Love that. Shout out to Pau Gasol. Unbelievable. I just love this transaction. This is a deal I actually really do enjoy. Acquired 35 to 49% of future commercial revenue rights from participating Liga F which is a Spain women's soccer league. And all those clubs through 2050 and 51. The total was 55 million euros, right around $61 million US, which includes the clubs, the league, and the player image rights. 4 of the 16 clubs opted out, and that's including Real Madrid. So you lose the biggest player, but I do think that this is very interesting. He's bought a league's revenue, not just a jersey now. Teams are now opting out. You have Real Madrid opting out is a huge tell of kind of what's uncovering all this, because I think that it does show that there is money to be had here. Real Madrid would not be opting out of money and cash if they knew what he was doing. I think that there's got to be something here, and this is a very interesting play. This is one we haven't really seen before, where you're just taking revenue from a league and injecting cash to take revenue back out. How they use that cash is going to be very important. What is the viewership for Liga F? I have no idea. We just talked about the first time that I'm really watching soccer is the World Cup, much less Liga F. Liam, your thoughts on Pau's decision to take this deal?
This was a fun one to dive into. It was. And to answer your question quickly on viewership, and we did just talk about it, I think you almost answered your own question when you were talking about it, where you said, man, I'm going to start watching soccer more. I'm going to dive in, all this stuff. So I think you answered it. But to answer it officially through the research I did, audiences have doubled in the league in the last 2 seasons, which is a huge important thing to note.
But doubled. You say doubled from what? Doubled from 100 viewers to 200 viewers, from 1,000 viewers to 2,000 viewers. Doubling is a very
look it up.
Broad term.
Pull up the actual statistic. I got from my Claude chat. It said audiences doubled, and we love Claude, so we're gonna believe. But a couple things on this. Now it's a long lockup. It's a 25-year play. Now, will he see revenue because it's a rev share? Before that, 100%, I would hope. How long will that take? Probably a little while. I think if audiences doubled in the last 2 seasons, they're probably going to need to double, quadruple, and then kind of continue to go down that route for us to start to see actual money back in Pau Gasol's pocket. I think something that is really risky in all of this is the fact that you run the risk of having a 2-tier league risk. So what I mean by that is teams that opt in versus teams that opt out. Will they now be treated differently when it comes to pouring capital into this league and kind of garnering more things that you can have from an accessibility standpoint when it comes to people that are actually opting in versus opting out? Now, a group like Real Madrid, they don't need this. They have all the money in the world. They're one of the more profitable or more kind of wealthy teams in soccer, so they can pull from different places. Now, other teams, they could probably really use this. But like I said, does that come with a risk of they will now be treated differently because they get this, this, and this, and other teams don't? That's something that you need to think about as well. Last couple of things I'll note on this. It fits Pau Gasol's portfolio. He has WNBA teams. He's pouring into women's sports. He invested in Oura Ring way back. So he's got the portfolio for it when it comes to women's sports and women's kind of tech surrounding it. I think this fits him. So I think that's part of it as well. And then lastly, the last thing I'll say is that right now, currently, he is paying for a premium. He's getting a pretty good price on it. It will go up. I don't see a world where it goes down. It will go up in some capacity. So he is paying for it at a good price right now. It just depends on how much will that go up, how quickly will it go up, and then we'll see.
Talking revenue now. We're talking revenue.
We're talking revenue, yes. Revenue, exactly.
You're saying that Liga F,
not an equity
revenue.
play.
You're saying Liga F's revenue will go up in 25 years and clear Pau's investment of $61 million.
I mean, yes.
That's your take right now. That's what you're standing on today.
Yes, I do. And I sure hope for Pau Gasol's sake. But yes.
I do too. I really hope it works out.
I think it will. And literally just because of what we did when we got on this podcast. We were talking about soccer. We were talking about how exciting it was. Sure, women's soccer and men's soccer can be different. It can be different styles of play. It can bring different audiences and eyeballs. But it is a growing sport. Sports in general is growing. Why not take a bet, especially if you're able to negotiate some sort of revenue sharing deal like this? I had written in my notes earlier that if you were wanting to do an equity play, it would be a 5 to 10 year equity exit, realistically, the typical kind of length of an equity. Yeah. This is a 25-year revenue sharing play. This guy's in it for the long haul. He believes in women's sports and he believes in soccer. He believes in European soccer, to be exact, where he's from. So we're going to see how this plays out. I do think I know you love having one of us take a side. I do think it will go up. I don't know how well it'll work. We'll see how much it goes up, but it'll go up in some capacity in the near future, in my opinion. What are your
This
thoughts?
is gonna, by far and large, be one of my favorite deals to follow. I'm gonna find a newfound love to figure out what Liga F is doing and how well they're doing. Because if you're a former NBA player, right, think about all the opportunities that you have in front of you, and you choose to do a rev share deal with a women's soccer league in Spain. You have to also have some pretty big plans out there. So I'm really excited to see what Gasol 16 Ventures is up to in the future. I'm going to be tracking that. I'm also going to be tracking who else is getting involved around this whole thing, and I'm really interested also to see. You're right. The timing is the key of all of this entire deal, because it's a long tenure of 25 years to recoup your entire investment. So I see this as more of like it's almost a
You're also a fixed asset.
It's a fixed asset
Yeah,
almost. Like,
is
it's
what
like
he would
you're
also.
thank you for finding the word for me. It's a fixed asset. It's an asset that's going to be over a long period of time. You're just assuming that you're going to collect check and collect check, collect check, and you're just hoping that that league is going to continue to expand. To wrap this, we could talk about this for a while, but to wrap this, I do think what we said before, soccer is going to see a new little bump after the World Cup. I think people are going to be pretty excited to watch soccer moving forward, especially good soccer. Like this, some of the soccer that I've watched, the football, I will even give it that. The football that I've watched now on through the World Cup has been
Yeah.
way more exciting and engaging than I ever thought it would. Even in games where it's 1-0. I just find like there's so much movement. It's a lot more shots on goal and a lot more opportunities than I ever thought. I'm a football player. I compare everything to the grind, the big hits, the touchdowns, the explosive plays, all those different things, the crowd erupting. I saw that in soccer over the last few weeks. So Pau Gasol, good luck to you. I wish you nothing but the best. You now have a new fan in me watching Liga F. I'm going to find the team that I really like. Maybe next week
Following.
I'll come on this podcast and choose my team for the season, and I'll just start following Liga F Spanish soccer. Next up, would you have written the check segment?
Here we go.
Liam, lacrosse at $500 million, June 30th, 2026. A lot happened on June 30th, I must say. Seems like it. A lot of people closing deals. Premier League Lacrosse, which I know a couple of the guys in the PLL. Congratulations on this huge accomplishment. $100 million Series E led by Aries at a valuation of over $500 million, largest raise in professional lacrosse history. The cap table is ESPN, Minority Equity, Glenn Powell, Rob Mack, Next 3, David Blitzers, Bolt Ventures, which we have met a couple of the guys over there. Congratulations on closing this deal. And the use of funds are going to go to a women's league, youth, media, and then ahead of also the 2028 push for the Olympic return for lacrosse. This is cool. This is another one like I would really like to unpack here from a diligence perspective and also just a opportunity perspective. Liam, would you have written this check? Yes or no?
I'm,
Yes
I'm,
or no?
let me give my thoughts here.
You
I'm
can. You
going to
can.
sound like a guy that is just got a deep checkbook and he's writing checks into leagues and
You
teams.
do. In this
But
podcast, you do for
yeah,
sure.
but with that being said, lacrosse is interesting. It is. It was big at my high school. They won the state every year. It's fun to watch. When you talk about action packed, it is action packed. The thing that I found to be kind of compelling when looking at this deal was the fact that their use of proceeds right away, they said, are going into storytelling and sponsorship, expanding the media distribution, but then more importantly, investing into the women's league and then also broadening the youth access. I think those two are key. It grows the market tremendously. And it honestly, I mean, quite frankly, it doubles the market, right? When you kind of penetrate both women's and then on top of that youth. But the biggest thing, and I think the obvious play that why they're taking on $100 million Series E is the Summer Olympics coming up in 2028, specifically with it being in America again, in LA. I think that is huge. That's going to be the tell-all. They have to crush that. They have to capture it. They have to have these characters in lacrosse that are built up and these cool stories surrounding them leading up to it. And I know that's exactly what they're thinking about. That's exactly what they said they're putting the funds to. We'll see how well they can kind of actually do that and capture it. I think the team they've put together is good and very good. I think they have some awesome backers. I personally would be another backer. I would. I would throw a check into this because why not? You have the Lax League. It's a cool sport. It's a sport that I enjoy watching. I think it just hasn't had the opportunity to have more people watch it. And I think if there was some dollars put behind it into the things we just mentioned, I think it could blow up. I really do. So we shall see. I had another thing I was going to say on that, but you give your thought. If I remember, I'll jump in.
No, you're good. I think you go back to kind of how do you value these teams and how do you value these leagues? You got to write the three phases I talked about: the revenue, the financial model, and then evaluating the risk. From a revenue perspective, I am super bullish on lacrosse across the board. I do think that I go much more on the grassroots. Like I don't want to talk about like the data here. I just talk about I'm just going to go from experience. I know a lot of people that really enjoy the sport. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing, it's expanding from the East Coast where it started all the way out to the West. It is huge opportunities to capture revenue. And honestly, if you are the NFL of the cream of the crop of a sport, and the PLL is definitely becoming that, I think that a $500 million valuation is extremely justified for that type of league. I think that this really does expand and it could be a multi-billion-dollar asset, even applying different revenue multiples, right? I think it really does make a lot of sense. And then when it comes to risk, I don't see much risk. This is a league that's not going anywhere. It's the sport is sure as hell not going anywhere. So I do think this is a great play. Aries is continuously doing some really cool deals, and I'm just excited to keep on watching how this continues to develop in the lacrosse world, because you're seeing this dip down into these types of sports more and more and more. I feel like we catch ourselves talking about not as much the NFL, not as much the NBA or MLB, but you're talking about every single supplemental league. You're talking about Liga F. We're talking about the PLL. We're talking about expansion leagues all the time. Everybody is dipping further and further down, and the money is flooding the market all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. Boom in sports. This I cannot wait to see 2026. Mark my words, at the end of the year, I want to do this tally on our last podcast of the year. This has to be the most money, maybe double the amount of any year that has been, from a teams and leagues perspective, that has ever flooded the market in the entirety of sports. This has been amazing to watch. I think it has to do with the macro environment. I think it does have to do with everyone's trying to find alternative assets to invest in. And I think that sports are the most talked about. It's the most fun. It gives you the most bandwidth, not only from the actual investment, but everything from a social capital perspective that comes along with it. There is so much talk around sports business and sports financing. This is another example of it. Kudos to Aries. Kudos to also the other celebs that got in. Glenn Powell, Rob Mack, the Blitzer family office, ESPN doing it. Really A+ investment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Two things on that. One, you mentioned the macro environment. We talk about this all the time. Sports is one of the most real things you can find now. It's super authentic and you can't replace it. That plays to this. More micro on on my second point, but the gambling industry continues to grow at a clip. And the more sports there are, as crazy as it sounds, the more people can gamble on things at all hours of the day. People can go to Europe and gamble on Liga F. They can gamble on now the PLL and be passionate about it and go to the games and fill their time with something to do that's, like I said, real and authentic. The last thing I'll mention, it's exactly what I was going to say earlier. I just remembered. Last point to if I would invest in this, I think right now it's interesting to look at the PLL. They own all of the teams currently, all of them at full. They're looking at selling it to ownership groups. I think that is so very interesting, bringing it to large cities, putting it in the hands of some wealthy billionaires, families that can grow this. They've done it before. Maybe it's you sell it to the guy that owns the New York Knicks and he knows exactly how to grow a team and put it on a pedestal. That would also make me more bullish on this investment. Long story short, I do like it.
Well, that's a great point. I did. Thank you for clarifying that. It's also quicker ways for Aries and everybody involved to gain liquidity through everything is selling off some of the teams. Great deal. Really cool to watch this expansion. Another, I guess I got to pick a PLL team now as well. I have a Liga F team and a PLL team. And then once the European expansion goes in October 2027, the London Lakers are going to be my team, I guess. We'll see how it goes. But last segment here and doing a little bit more of a fun segment, I'm gonna do a blind ranking for you, Liam. I wanna hear your this is blind ranking of the top sports tech companies that have or private companies that have raised money in the last year.
How am I ranking them? What's the
1 through 5, blind ranking. I'm just gonna say them out loud, and
I
then
have
you
to
just
put them in the slot?
gotta put them in a
Yeah.
slot,
All right.
okay? So you gotta put them in a slot, you have to have an explanation for the slot. First business up for grabs, Superpower.
4. I know the guys over there too. Great crew, great team. I just think this
4.
list is gonna be really good. Mind you, for the viewers, I've never heard or seen the list he's presenting. I wanna make sure that's clear. Put him at 4, but shout out to Superpower.
And why are you putting them at 4? You're not putting them in the middle, you're not putting them in the upper quadrant, you're putting them at 4.
I
What's
have
the
a feeling,
thought there?
just knowing what this list might entail, I have a feeling there's gonna be some heavy hitters on it. I also think that you probably will have some companies that are more mature compared to Superpower. They're a fairly new company in the space, so
Okay, fair enough. Number or the next one, Strava.
ooh, I'm gonna go with 2.
2.
2. Do you know
And
what
why
they
is
do you have the raise details, the latest raise details by chance or
I
no?
don't have it in front of me.
We'll
I
come with
don't
that
have it
next
in front
time.
of me.
Yeah, Strava's an interesting player. They fit right into the kind of tech, sports tech, wearable, like with Aura and Whoop, they're somewhere right in there. And I think they've grown a lot. It's a good product. I've used it on runs. It works. I think that there's a lot of things from a data perspective that they probably have under the hood that I know they're nearing IPO. They've been heading that way for a little while now. I think when they IPO, there's a lot of things from a data perspective that they could plug into with potentially Aura, with Whoop, with some of these groups. And like I said, I was right. They are a more mature company. So I'll put them at 2.
Okay, so Strava at 2, Superpower at 4. You were talking about them earlier. Aura, where do they fall? $900 million raise
Yeah.
just as of late, and also calling for an IPO. And yeah, you could probably guess who's coming down the pipe, so you got to fit them in there somewhere as well. So it's also very telling where you're going to put Aura.
Yeah. I would have, okay. With you saying that, I probably would have changed Strava, but I'll keep them at 2.
You can't now. 2.
Aura, I'm going to go ahead and throw at 1.
Wow. Wow.
And I
Okay.
think
And why is that?
for a couple reasons. I think when you look at Aura and Whoop, they're very similar. They do very similar things, and they're trying to accomplish the same goal, which is being the diagnostics that you wear. It's in your pocket. It's on your phone. You don't have to go to the doctor anymore. They've they've done a ton of different acquisitions and partnerships with healthcare groups and getting involved with being able to kind of almost become the doctor for your pocket. I think Aura specifically has an advantage because early on they attacked women in the market, that entire market, and they kind of captured it well. I think Whoop has been more agnostic, and I think more men have probably worn Whoop. I don't know the numbers exactly, but that's just my guess.
That's a good guess.
Aura, but with that being said, Aura already captured women's. I think they have a huge, immense opportunity as they continue to grow, as they IPO, to capture the entire market. I personally would wear an Aura ring. I would. I think if you're getting everything you need from it, why not? It's a super cool platform. You can get all the diagnostics you need. You might not even have to go to the doctor anymore because you could just virtually call one of their doctors or whatever the things that they're implementing are. So, with those things being said, with the market opportunity and the size of the market and the ways they've already captured it, I'll go ahead and put Aura at 1.
All right. So we have Aura at 1, Strava at 2, Superpower at 4, Teamworks.
Ooh, interesting.
You
Man,
got 3 and 5 available.
this is tough. This is tough. This is the blind ranking coming back to bite me. I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put Teamworks at 5
At
just
5.
because I think I know what 3 is going to be. But man, Teamworks is an awesome company. We know a good amount of the people over at the Teamworks team. We've watched them grow firsthand. I mean, we've used the platform. You got into college, whatever, 9 years ago, and it was a thing then, and it's been growing ever since. Don't make that face.
I can't believe that.
It might even be longer now. I don't even remember. But okay, no, it's like what, 8, 7
9 years.
years ago?
It's 9 years.
Okay,
So
so I was
you're
right.
right.
Anyway, 9 years ago, you watched it grow and scale from that point. I got into college 5 years ago, and since then, the things they've added are cool. And to be honest, as a player, just speaking total business hat off, as a player, when we first started using the app, it was something that you would look at your schedule and that's really it. From there, over the last few years, they've expanded to where you're doing your tickets through it. You're getting events scheduled through it. You could connect your Google Calendar to it. All these different.
I'm just pulling up my Bengals Teamworks app right now. I don't know if you know this, but they've now, so it's Teamworks 2.0. And they also have a nutrition category as well, a scannable nutrition category where you can track all your macros. They can actually put in meal prep plans and everything included. When you talk about the buy versus build, they probably had a chance to acquire a company to solve that, and they ended up building internally with the teams. Also might hurt some of these companies that are
Yeah.
specifically for the meal prep and for tracking calories and macros and everything like that. But just throwing that out there, Teamworks 2.0, I had to re-download the app. I had to
Wow.
the whole new app.
Yeah.
Completely destroyed the other app. It's going away. Teamworks 2.0 is out, and it's really good.
Yeah. So Teamworks is an awesome company. I will say this though. If I could do it again, I would
Nope.
maybe flip. I know.
No,
No. I'm
no, no,
about to
no, no, no. We're not even
listen.
done. We're not even done with the
I
list.
know we're not done. If I can maybe do it again, let me finish. I would maybe flip Superpower and Teamworks, maybe, but I can't, and I'm going to stick to it, and here's why. I think when you look at the market as a whole, Teamworks is a little more niche. They're talking to elite sports teams. They have all the leagues, and that's really all they work with so far. They don't have the consumer. They're not selling to healthcare groups. They're selling to teams. Superpower, on the other hand, is going after a consumer. They want to be the at-home kind of biomarker tester that then allows you to live as long as you possibly can. They want to be like Whoop and Aura. So I will keep them at 4 because I think their opportunity to grow is much higher. Better company right now. Sure, it's Teamworks. They're profitable. They're crushing it. But I'm going to stick to my word. I'm going to have, obviously, I can't change it now, but I am going to double down on it and say Superpowers 4. Teamworks, unfortunately, is at 5, but I do love the Teamworks team.
I appreciate the take from our co-host Liam Clifford here. Our last one, Whoop.
There it is. I knew it was coming.
And it's slotted in already at 3. Can you justify now why you've put Oura Ring and Strava in front of Whoop?
Oura Ring, I gave my thoughts.
Yes, well, go to Strava, I guess.
I think that they're number 1. I really do. Whoop, unfortunately, is at 3. Would have loved to put them at 2. They're a powerhouse. They've been the dominant player. They've been out for a really long time. I actually would love to check. I don't know when Strava came out. I don't know that, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But those 3 companies are huge, man. They really are. They're dominating this industry right now. They're all heading toward IPO. It seems like from what we've looked at, Aura's kind of ahead of the game in terms of IPO, but Whoop and Strava may be close behind. So I think my order actually is pretty spot on, actually, in my opinion.
I do like your order. I had the exact same order on mine, other than flipping Strava and Whoop.
Okay. So
I had the exact same order.
Yeah. And I didn't know what was coming, so I don't hate where I ended up. Let me ask you this. Superpower and Teamworks, what was your thought process on that?
The same, exact same. I think that I'd rather take the upside on the consumer play with Superpower versus the enterprise play with Teamworks. I do think that Teamworks, though, as they continue to build through elite sports data, how do you utilize that will be very interesting and telling in the future. And is there an expansion plan past just having it as teams? I mean,
the obvious answer is it should go B2B. It should be used in Fortune 500 companies and continue to expand. We'll see what the applicability is to that and what they can kind of continue to make in their own tech. Like you said, they're building rather than buying. So I'm sure they'll have to buy soon, but we shall see.
Yeah. So I mean, altogether though, very good list, I will say, for a blind ranking. I do appreciate you covering all that. But yeah, so here's the week in one number. You have $500 million. That's the ante on top of the stack now, it seems like. I mean, with the European cities, the lacrosse league, all clearing it before the games even start. Pau Gasol, we see with the revenue share. Congrats to him. And then your blind rankings. And also just soccer as a whole. I mean, it was a great conversation. But the whole thesis, the scoreboard tells you definitely who won today. The cap table tells you who owns tomorrow. And we'd rather own tomorrow, personally. I'm very bullish on the future of sports. This is why we do the podcast. And if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, do all the things you are supposed to do when you like a podcast. We are coming out also. We are going to be doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on content across all platforms. So please subscribe to the YouTube. There will be more coming out there. We are going to have the shorts going. We're also going to be expanding our TikTok, our Instagram, our Twitter, all those different things. And as I say it every single week, we've had so much fun enjoying doing this on a weekly basis. Sorry we missed you last week. We're glad to be back from playing the game to owning a piece of it. This is Sean and Liam Clifford, Playbooks and Portfolios, and we will see you next week.